just wanted to spend some time talking about something I've been playing around with for the last, couple of days over the weekend, which is getting a agent working where you can like write a prompt as a Notion document and then use that prompt to actually comment on other documents that you write within Notion. I just really like this idea because if you're a company that uses Notion pretty heavily, then many people can write Notion docs. You can see them, can provide feedback on them, improve them. Then every Notion document you write as a prompt can be used to improve the other documents that are getting written kind of every day. So I just want to walk through how this works and just show you some examples. So the first thing is this blog post will be going up in a little bit once I finish recording this. And basically it shows kind of the core idea. But what this is this is an AWS Lambda. And so it's set up so each time it gets pinged by Notion with a webhook when a document has changed its state or whatever, it will comment on it. So you write a prompt. I'll show you the real kind of pieces in a second as well. But just showing some screenshots real quick. I'll show you the prompt. Then based on that prompt, it will actually provide feedback on the document that you've asked it to. It will provide both like inline comments, but also like a top level comment. And again, it can reply to comments that are left by people as well. So let's go ahead and look at a prompt that I've made, and we'll just pretend I remember how to make this hover and stay above, because I obviously do not, but that's fine. So first, this is a prompt about giving RFC feedback, right? Pretty straightforward prompt. Looking at just some pretty generic pieces. And I'm not saying this is a great kind of prompt. This is just one that I kind of put together as an example of like how could this be done. And so there's some feedback about added comment. So be brief. One sentence better. Reference source material. Try to pick like at most 5 things. Tell it the name of the agent. So I've set it up in Notion. I can show that in just a second. So try to avoid replying to your own comments if possible. Only minimize feedback. Only give really important feedback. And when you are agreeing or disagreeing with someone and who's also left a comment, try to directly reply. And then here are the things that it should give feedback on. So RFCs, SOC 2 compliance, referencing documentation, delivering secure performant software, and you could imagine lots of other things as well that maybe we would want to have it give feedback on. For example, maybe always use AWS tooling when possible. Something like that, just as an example. And so now from there, we can go look at, there's a software RFCs table or database that I've set up. Here's some RFCs. See, there's this automation that we've put together. And basically the automation is saying that, and I'm going to disable all these webhooks and everything. So if you see secrets exposed here, don't worry about it. They won't exist when this gets published. But this is a simple kind of integration. And basically, whenever a property changes, it's going to send a webhook to this. And so what this only has a couple parameters, but basically there's a prompt ID, and that is the prompt ID of this. You can see, actually just take this document. So if you are here and you create multiple prompts, you could use them to respond to different database tables as they change, essentially. So you have that. And then there's also a client token. And so the client token is basically a way to basically have a client secret. These lambdas are exposed to the internet, so having like a secret they can pass here at least provides a little bit of security from someone who's just like finding it at random and kind of trying to use it. And that's it. And so let's go into this. This is just like actually like a blog post I wrote a long time ago. So let's resolve all these existing comments. Leave the comments that I've written, and then let's just change the status. And so this will take like 2 or 3 minutes to run. So let's also do this for another one. And so I just literally kind of pulled in like a random like JavaScript or package and kind of pretend it's an RFC. It's not an RFC, but let's also update that and kind of see what happens. So while these are running, we can see that it's already starting to pop up. So it's like, hey, please use the situation, complication, question, answer format, which is, one of the things that we have asked it to do. And then it has, consider adding a direct link to this. I mean, again, this one's not like the best piece of feedback in my mind, but again, it's not really the point. The point is that, it is my prompt. If my prompt was better and had better things, then it would do something smarter. And then kind of going all the way down here, you can see it's continued, but it's all together. It's pretty cool. And the thing I really love is that it's both commenting inline. It will reply to comments if appropriate. And also it's giving this top line. And so I think these are blocks. So I think what it did here, not incredibly helpful. And I think I could, improve the prompt as well to give a little bit more detail. But let's go over into this other one that it gave feedback on. And again, this is just like a random like Java, like a GitHub repos markdown essentially, markdown readme. But hey, use OWASP, SOC2, whatever. Just have anything else. So then, something about guidance for AWS KMS, and then again about OWASP, and then it has some like top level feedback about the overall document. See, to avoid the 5-topic limit and redundancy. But again, you can see it gives like, relatively like reasonable feedback. And again, each place that you're like, oh, this feedback's not that helpful. It's just because my prompt sucks. And so that's on me, not on it. And so just real quickly, let's kind of look at how this works. So if you are here on Notion, kind of come in, you can see how these things work. So I created the doc eval agent, and then I added read content, read comments, insert comments, and the ability to kind of see user information and addresses. And then I added access to this one software team space that I've created, and that was really, I made it internal. And then something I didn't do is I didn't like create webhooks here, but what you could do instead of what I've done is if you wanted to, you could actually be getting webhooks on every time these things change instead of getting webhooks based on the database. It just kind of depends a little bit on what you're trying to do. And then this is just a Amazon Lambda. So if you check out the repository, and I'll show you the repo in a second, basically it's just this incredibly terribly written Claude code generated file, but it's like 800 lines. Yeah, it's like 800 lines of just simple Python, but it does pretty cool stuff, and most of it's like not that complicated. So a lot of it, if you just read through the code real quick, so get some parameters, they get the prompt ID for the prompt page, then you load that page with get page, then you get the changed page either from a query parameter or from the webhook from Notion, get that, and this basically just builds a markdown representation of the blocks, but also including the block ID, so the tool usage can actually know which one it's commenting on. And then it queries OpenAI. And so if we want to look at this real quick, this is like the meat of the implementation is in here. It does that, and that's really the last thing it does. So getting the page isn't that interesting. This Notion to markdown and back, it's terrible implementation. But works well enough. So we'll just kind of ignore that. So we get the users, we add the block, comment blocks, etc. But really the interesting piece is down in here. And again, I think the thing I love about tool usage so much is that this is just incredibly simple as well. So basically we define a tool, which is Notion comment, and we let it know about it. And that's it. All it is it has like a block ID and a comment ID, or a comment, markdown comments, and that's really all it does. And then we pass the system prompt, which is the prompt page. Like this RFC prompt is like the system prompt. And then we pass the user prompt, which is like, one of these documents. And then tool use, so on. And then basically it just does the function calls that it's, or the tool calls that it's recommended. And there's, again, just only this one piece, which is like Notion comment. That's the only thing it supports. And then depending on whether you've enabled kind of the final page comment or not, it also leaves the final response from the AI as this, and that's what becomes this thing. So ultimately just incredibly simple, and I've just been super excited. It just works pretty well. And then so finally there is this GitHub repository, pretty straightforward as well. It describes how to configure it. It describes how to deploy it on AWS, and it's basically, if you really quite lazy, you basically just take this agent.zip, you upload it here, you upload the zip file here, and then it has everything, has all the dependencies, it has everything you need. It's basically just OpenAI dependencies, and then this one giant file. And there's like a small amount of configuration that you need to do, which I describe in the GitHub repo. But basically, it is setting your client token if you want to. It's kind of the secret. Your Notion API token, your OpenAI API key, and that's it. So you should be able to get it working pretty quickly. Oh, and then also make sure to increase your timeout. If you